This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Over $500,000 of dangerous drugs confiscated on Inagua on Wednesday, and police are following significant leads as investigations continue. Reports reveal that officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit on Inagua, acting on intelligence, recovered suspected cocaine and marijuana from bushes in Matthewtown. The suspected cocaine weighed in at 60 pounds with an estimated street value of $540,000, while the suspected marijuana weighed in at 50 pounds with an estimated street value of $50,000, for a total of $590,000. Again, police investigations continue. As we continue to follow the Department of Inland Revenue and its push to collect outstanding taxes from companies that have either failed to pay or undervalue their earnings to avoid falling into a certain tax zone, as was the case allegedly with several businesses on Harbor Island that were recently targeted, officials at the Government Collection Agency say that is only the beginning. Cale Campbell attended a press conference at Inland Revenue on Wednesday and has more for us in this next report.
The Davis administration continuing to crack down on arrears owed to the government as the Department of Inland Revenue, DIR, outlines a number of potential penalties as it relates to delinquent debtor businesses in the country, with one of the potential penalties possibly being the sale of one's land. During a press conference held at the DIR's headquarters, Acting Controller Shonda Strawn gave more details into potential penalties.
I know you are aware at one time we were in the season of the ease of doing business, right? And in that season we were very giving, right? And we just tried, like for example, in the business license period, we just was rolling everything out because the focus was on getting it out fast, right? But the focus isn't on fast right now as so much as it's on accuracy, right? We need to be sure that businesses are doing the right thing.
The DIR's acting controller explains they have a number of powers available to them in order to obtain monies owed to the government, one of them being the power of sale.
And one of the powers we're going to be initiating is, of course, the power of sale, right? So in keeping with what you're saying, the Act really allows for the Department of Inland Revenue to sell all properties except properties that are owner-occupied and owned by Bahamians. That's a big power that we have. Now, it's also one that we have to use very carefully. And so it has taken us some time to get to this point, but we are at this point where we will begin to initiate power of sale actions. Now, you asked about foreign-owned business or foreign-owned properties. And so it's not only foreign-owned properties that the department has the right to initiate power of sale on.
As it relates to current penalties for offenses and the monetary penalty they carry, the DIR acting controller lists some of the penalties, such as unregistered people collecting VAT as $70,000 per offense, failing to state prices that are VAT inclusive, $50,000, and failing to comply with a DIR's request, $50,000 as well. The Department of Inland Revenue encourages individuals to update themselves with current regulations.
So you already heard that the department has the power to put liens on assets, the power of search and seizure. We have the power to deem related persons responsible for the debt, and that I'll go through a little bit of that, or I'll probably leave that one out because I'm going to get to the good stuff. You know about garnishments. So we have garnished quite a bit of bank accounts. And that falls under, we'll give you the sections in your notes so you see which section under the various legislation, under the various acts that give us the authority to do what we're doing. We talked about the power of sale. And so when we move on down to contraventions, there are penalties, fixed penalties, that we have used and we have applied for various contraventions.
Thanks for that report, Cale. On Wednesday, Royal Caribbean International RCI President and CEO Michael Bailey said while on a local radio talk show that he has no doubts that their $100 million beach club project proposed for the western end of Paradise Island can coexist with Atlantis in a win-win situation. He also gave assurances that all of the necessary steps will be taken to protect and preserve the environment. Shortly after his appearance on radio, environmental groups penned a joint open letter demanding transparency when it comes to the Beach Club project. The letter, signed by former Executive Director of the Bahamas National Trust, Eric Carey, Save the Bay's Executive Chairman, Joseph Darville, Re-Earth Executive Director, Sam Duncombe, Waterkeepers Executive Director, Rashim Ingram, Bahamas Reef Environment Educational Foundation, BREEF, the executive there is Director Kasarina McKinney, and Earth Care President Gail Woon. They all called for a thorough, transparent review of the environmental, economic, and cultural impacts of the beach project, citing concerns including, but not limited to, threats to the fragile coastline of Paradise Island, pollution of Bahamian waters, safety and traffic in Nassau Harbor, the negative economic impact of having thousands of cruise passengers bypass the capital downtown, and unforeseen consequences of selling our natural resources and heritage to a foreign entity with no substantive return for the Bahamian people. To date, according to the environmentalists, there has been a lack of transparency with little or no opportunity for public input or dialogue on the project. Add to that, they said, critical questions posed to Royal Caribbean and the government agencies have gone unanswered. The group of environmentalists said they stand on the commitments by the government to ensure a thorough review of the project guided by the expressed interest of the Bahamian public. Social Services Minister and Member of Parliament for West End, Bimini, and the Berry Islands, Obi Wilshcombe, providing an update on residents impacted by two recent fires on Bimini and Great Harbour Key in the Berry Islands. The Social Services Minister says the ministry is on the ground ensuring those affected return to some sort of normalcy. However, he laments the lack of home insurance.
For the most part, the families affected are at the level of comfort at the present time. We continue to work to get them back to normalcy, meaning that we want to make sure that they're homes, and there's some report to get the homes done. That report is being prepared for us now, so that we can have other agencies join in to make sure that the homes can be prepared. One of the difficulties we have with the islands is the lack of insurance, and we have to do something about that. Speak with the insurance companies or find a way to ensure that individuals who own homes are able to have their homes insured. Because once tragedy comes, and it could be a natural disaster, it could be almost anything, the truth is they're left wanting, and they are sometimes left demoralized. And so we have to do our best to assist. But by and large, my staff has been incredible. They provided the assistance needed, and the people generally are in good shape.
Mr. Wilshcombe also commenting on the issue of a lack of fire trucks and the maintenance of fire trucks on the various family islands. He suggested the fires could have been avoided. He says local government needs to play a bigger role in the various communities.
We have been trying to get ambulances for the islands, and the minister has informed us how difficult it is. But we continue to try because we have to get the apparatus in place. Insofar as fire engines are concerned, the truth is we need more. But here's another issue that we have. Fire engines in the family islands, local governments are responsible for, and so that's where you have the disconnect sometimes, because who should be maintaining the vehicles? So we have to find a way to ensure that the process works more smoothly, because in Bimini the other day, the issue came down to simply 3 batteries were needed for the fire engine.
Now, as it relates to the family of 9 in the Berry Islands that was left homeless due to an early morning fire, Mr. Wilshcombe says they too were without home insurance. However, despite their misfortune, Mr. Wilshcombe says the family is in good spirits as social services continues to assist them. And finally, there were many congratulatory remarks for the Bahamas Carifta Swim and Carifta Track and Field teams by members of the House of Assembly on Wednesday. And leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, was among them. In fact, he began his contribution by thanking the Minister of Sports, Mario Boleg, for a job well done.
Let me begin, Madam Speaker, by saying congratulations to the Minister with responsibility for sports, the Honorable Mario Boleg, for assembling for assembling a wonderful team. The LOC, which a number of us have worked with before, the local organizing committee, we thought was populated by a number of very talented Bahamians, and of course, Tramiko Archer, the head of the B3As. But Madam Speaker, the bulk of the praise really goes to the athletes who have done a phenomenal job, and to their parents and the coaches and the entire support system that has been built around them.
Mr. Pentard also congratulated the Bahamas Swimming Federation on the success they had and commended the sponsors that came on board to support both the Carifta track team and the Carifta swim team. He then went on to express the official opposition's support for sports funding and further investments into the nation's youth. He listed 6 reasons why the opposition supports the Minister of Sports.
We stand with the Minister of Sports because we recognize that sports play a key role in at least 6 areas. 1, you develop elite athletes. Already we have Bahamians who are part of producing Carifta records, even in this Carifta. We saw in athletes from Jamaica that they're not only record holders in Carifta, but global record holders. And so we know that sports has the ability to produce elite athletes. The second reason we support sports development, Madam Speaker, is that it produces free education, higher education for thousands of Bahamians. Cynthia Mother Pratt was one of many coaches. Norris Bain, yet another coach. There are many of them who have assisted young people in going off to school and getting a free education because of their prowess in education. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, athletics help to fight non-communicable diseases, in particular obesity. And so we know that when you invest in sports, you invest in producing elite athletes, providing higher education, and fighting non-communicable diseases. And final 3, Madam Speaker, the 4th pillar we believe sports should be built on is that it generates employment. Many of our elite athletes who participated in Carifta in the past are now coaching at universities around the world.
The 5th and 6th pillars as reasons for the opposition support of the Minister of Sports is that sports provides recreation which creates camaraderie, and it develops important attributes such as discipline, perseverance, and teamwork. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jarino Saunders. Thanks for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.